Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Today we're going to take a look at Geister, Schatzsuchmeister, and I'm sorry if I butchered that. You won't have to hear me say it again, I promise. I'll just call it Geister. This is from Mattel, or at least the German arm of Mattel, and if you're wondering why I'm reviewing a game that I cannot pronounce, it's because there's never been an official North American version of this game, which is very puzzling because this is actually the Kinderspiel des Jahres winner for 2014. The Spiel des Jahres family of games has a few different family of game awards, has a few different awards, and the Kinderspiel is for the best children's game of the year. So now you might be asking yourself, why is Nick reviewing a children's game when he has no children and he's very sad? Well, the fact is, I was very intrigued by the artwork, which is from Piero, which I know I'm not in the reviews part of this yet, but it's amazing as usual, and also the components as well, and the theme, where you are a group of kids going into a mansion and you have to collect these jewels, but of course the mansion is haunted. The proper translation of the name, I believe, is Ghost Detective, something like that. So you have to go into this mansion, grab these jewels. If you play with the advanced rules, which is something else I had heard about that intrigued me about the game, you have to collect the jewels in a certain order, and of course all the rooms in the mansion are getting haunted at the same time. If too many ghosts comes out, things get worse and worse and worse. Super ghosts come out, and if too many rooms get haunted, that's the end of the game. It doesn't really tell you what happens after that because it is a family-friendly game, but I can assume it's something similar to The Shining. That's just because I'm a very twisted individual. Let's go ahead and take a... Oh, wait. Let me point this out first. Even though this is not available domestically and it was never fully officially translated, it is a completely language-independent game, and you can download the English rules from Board Game Geek very easily, and they're a very good set of rules, so you should have no problem understanding it if you like what you see in this video and you want to pick it up. Now, let's go ahead and take a brief look at how the game is played, then we're going to come back and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, this is the setup for Geister, Schatzsuchmeister as a cooperative game for up to 4 players. You're going to have the board. You're going to put these little gem tokens in each of the rooms that they're letter coded. Each one of the ones that you're going to put gems on have orange lettering on them. And if you're playing with the advanced rules, you're actually going to shuffle these up because there's going to be a number on the other side of them from 1 to 8. Each player has an investigator piece, these little kid pieces here, which I'll just show you those close up. Each kid piece has a little backpack where those gems are going to fit nice and snugly for them to carry it back out of the mansion. I'll get back to that in a second, but here's all the different pieces. At least one of the pieces is a girl as well, just so you know. And then you have the ghost pieces. Here are your normal ghosts. You have a bunch of these little green guys, and then you have the haunting markers. If 3 ghosts haunt the same room, or 3 ghosts pop up in the same room, a haunting occurs, and you replace them all with one of these big haunting pieces, and that's a bad thing to do. You also have the dice. You have the white movement die, which also tells you when ghosts will come out, and also the combat dice, which are the black dice, which, yes, they do have stickers on them, unfortunately. And the last thing is you have the deck of haunting cards. Whenever you would have to haunt a room, you're going to draw a card from this deck. Now, most of the cards in the deck are keyed in to the different rooms on the mansion. Whenever you draw one of these cards, you'll put a ghost in the applicable room, and the artwork is always themed towards whatever kind of room it is. Like there's the library and so on, and there's of course the bathroom card. Got to show you that with all the different ghosts. But some of the cards, you always have the shuffle card. Remember, this game is originally in German, although as you can tell it's mostly language independent. But that's shuffle. So when this is drawn, you're going to shuffle all the cards that would be in the discard pile in the void back together. If you're playing with the advanced rules, also remember, like I said, the advanced rules have the numbered gems you'll be using, but you'll also going to shuffle these into the deck. These do a couple of different things. First, these say draw 2 and then shuffle, and draw 3 and then shuffle, which means you're going to haunt a couple extra times and then shuffle afterwards. And these are going to lock doors on the map. If you look out here, you can see that the doors are color-coded to blue and green. If one of these lock cards gets drawn, it stays out in play, and so long as it stays out in play, you cannot go through those doors until another lock comes out that replaces it, or until you have to do a shuffle, in which case everything gets shuffled back together into the deck. Now, on a player's turn, very simply, what they're going to do is they're going to take the movement die, they're going to roll it, and that's going to tell them how many spaces they can move and whether or not they're going to have to haunt. If it's anything but a 6, then yes, you're going to have to haunt a room, but you'll move first. So you're going to take your piece, you'll start off on the outside of the map out here in the entryway, then you're going to start moving. It's simple roll and move mechanics. You can't end in a space that has another investigator, but you can move past them, and you can't do diagonals as well. And remember, as long as the doors are unlocked, you can move into it, and each room counts as one space. So if I can move 3 spaces, and assuming the doors aren't locked, I can go 1, 2, 3, move into a room. At that point, I can then choose to take a gem, put it immediately into my backpack. It's kind of a free action, but if you have more movement left over after that, that ends your movement. Now, if you're playing with the advanced rules, the reason why you might not want to take a gem right away, when you move into a room, you immediately get to flip it over and see what the number is. I guess I should mention the victory condition for this game. The victory condition in a normal game is simply to grab every gem and run back out with it. As soon as you grab a gem and take it outside, you can drop it off. And in a basic game, you want to just get every gem out. It's the same thing in an advanced game, but the gems must be taken out in numerical order from 1 to 8, and that's the only way that they can be taken out. You can pick up any number that you want in any order, but you can't take it outside unless it's in the proper order, 1 going all the way up to 8. So that's why you might want to leave a gem down. If in this case it's actually a 7, that's useless to us right now. There's no way we could take that out anytime soon, and it's just going to be taking up space in this kid's backpack. So you want to leave that there and perhaps go and get another one. Now, since there was a ghost on the side, this also means I have to draw a card from the deck. Now, if it's just that happened to be a crazy card, so there's a lock card, so that would have to take effect, and then you're done. But if it was one of the haunting cards, I'll take a ghost, put it in the appropriate room. That is room C, so boom, I've got a haunting card, or a ghost there. Now, if you notice there's 2 spots for every ghost, that's because, like I said, if a third ghost would come out into a room, instead of that third ghost coming out, you remove those and put one of the haunting markers here. Now, if there's just a normal amount of ghosts in a room at the end of your turn, you have to fight them. That, very simply, is taking the die and rolling it, and if it comes up as the applicable type of ghost, so in this case if it's just a green ghost, even if there's 2 ghosts in the room, you're just going to remove one of the ghosts. You've successfully fought it, and you remove it from the map. However, if you have one of your buddies, or at least one of your buddies in the room with you, you'll get to roll 2 battle dice, which can give you better odds of not getting a blank face and be able to remove whatever ghosts are in the room. But if you're in one of the rooms that is haunted, things are a bit tough. First and foremost, you can't move out of a room that's haunted unless you have a buddy with you, and you can't carry the gems out either. So if you are stuck in one of those rooms, you have to have at least you must have another person with you in order to fight the haunting, and then you have to get the special haunting symbol on the die, which is much rarer on the die. There's only, I think, 2 of them, as opposed to maybe 3 or something like that for the die, and only then can you remove the haunting. Now, why is the haunting so bad other than locking you down? That's because if 6 of them come out on the entire board, the game immediately ends in defeat for the young investigator. So that is the main loss condition of the game. Also, if players get trapped in haunted rooms and can't move and can't get out and can't get to each other, that can end the game in defeat as well. But your primary goal is just to get the treasure tokens, get them out in a certain order, take them outside, or if you're just playing with the basic game, just get them all out no matter what the order is. You're helping each other out, moving in rooms, removing ghosts, and generally trying to be the best darn child investigators whose parents haven't been watching them closely and are letting them get into danger with ghosts that you can possibly be. Now, let's get to my final thoughts. First and foremost, components and artwork, just stunning. Artwork, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Piero's artwork. It's great. From Medieval Academy, Ghost Stories, just a bevy of different games that he's produced artwork for are just amazing, and Geister is absolutely no exception. It looks fantastic, and when you add that together with the components of the game, the really cool ghost miniatures and the super ghost miniatures of the haunting ghosts, and the only complaint I have about the components are the stickered dice. But other than that, I mean, that's forgivable. At least you don't have to put on the stickers yourself, at least not for my copy, which was brand new. But other than that, the board looks phenomenal with the artwork. The graphic design is slick. Everything is easy to understand. I will say that you're going to need to, if you play this game a lot, you're going to need to sleeve those cards, especially if you're playing with kids, because you shuffle them a ton, okay? It's possible you'll shuffle them a lot, and so you're going to need to sleeve them at some point if you plan on keeping the game. Other than that, everything as far as the presentation goes is just out of the park. In fact, you have to really put yourself in the shoes of a kid when you see this game for the first time, because if you're a kid and you see this, you're just going to be blown away. Everything is just going to look incredible. And it's one of those, it really goes back to what I said about it being puzzling that this game has not been released domestically, because if this was on the shelf at Toys R Us, it would sell out. It just looks fantastic. Every parent would get it for their kids. So it's really weird that it hasn't been released, at least for that superficial reason. But the good news is, superficiality aside, this is actually a solid cooperative game. And it's interesting, I was hoping that the game would have just a little more edge to it when I heard about the advanced rules, and I thought that it would be just a bit more of a gamerly game. As it turns out, it's kind of not. I can't necessarily recommend this to every person in my audience that's watching, because it is a very, very simple game, even with the advanced rules. It's just roll and move and run into rooms, and try to collect these gems, and then have to take care of hauntings at some point and then get out. So for gamerly gamers who are used to games like Ghost Stories, which I mentioned earlier, it's going to be tough to recommend this because you've moved on and you've done bigger and better things. But for young people, for kids, and when I say kids, probably, I have no concept of age range for kids for games, but let's say between 8 and 12, this would be perfect, because there's enough of a game here to make it interesting for both the kids and the parents. It's not just you're running in and rolling and moving and trying to grab these gems. You also have to cooperate fully. You have to decide when do you have to go and help someone who's stuck in a room with ghosts and they can't get out. Or when you're gathering these gems and everybody's safe, but now there's a danger of too many rooms getting haunted. So now what do? Now you have to work together. And if you do play with the advanced rules, which I would probably play with any age group really, you have to decide who is going to grab what gem and in what order, who's going to get out first. They have to be taken out in a certain order. That sort of puzzly aspect is also interesting and really leads to people working together as a team. And in that regard, this would be a fantastic game for kids. And like most of the mass market games that we have over here that are for kids, it's not going to lead to ill feelings of people wanting to flip tables over and getting angry at each other. You're working together and you're doing it with a really beautiful game. So while I can't recommend this to other single gamerly gamers like myself, if you have kids, if you have a youth group, or if you go to a library and have a group of kids that you play games with there, you have to have this. You have got to get this game. You can import it. It's not too expensive. Board Game Bliss, my sponsor, I'll just give them a free plug here because they have had it in stock as well. That's where I got my copy. Hunt it down. It is worth it, and I can't believe it hasn't been released domestically. Maybe one day it will, but because it is definitely worth it for presentation, for fun for kids. It's a solid, solid game. That is Geister something. Schatzsuchmeister from Mattel. Check it out.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.